You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Bring, bring, bring. Hey, look, it's me. Something happened to my darn volume on my PC over here. Son of a biscuit eater. Well, in any event, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting from North Idaho in an actual free state. I happen to be your actual conservative Sherpa, and I am guiding you through the maelstrom of Demarat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. And also, please note what you're about to hear tonight for the next 2 hours, roughly hour and a half, 2 hours, consists of my opinion and my opinion only, and that of my special guest who was previously unannounced. But if you look at my social media, I have a great guest for tonight. You've never seen him before, like ever. The finest guest on the planet, only for you guys. So what's my job? I am doing the job that the American media maggots won't. I am fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. And I get to say this, that we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks right here in the saloon, along with, facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, clarity, context, tradition, and common sense for normal people. I got it. By the way, as an adult, I hope you have your adult beverage. That's French for beverage. Next to you, somewhere reachable, like me. This is potato water. The rest of the vegetables are not cutting it. Damn vegetables. So, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. I'm going to have to do something about my volume here. Let's see. Okay, and I got to tell you the truth. Let me click on this and make that go away. Okay, remember I told you I have a producer, right? And then as a matter of fact, I put him, here he is. This is the only photo that he would allow me, Merlin Queffel. So he was here Tuesday night. And apparently between Tuesday night and now, he called in sick. It's like you have one job for 2 hours and you did it okay on Tuesday, but now sucker calls in sick on me. Well, let's go to comments, because holy moly, were there comments? Are there ever comments? Let's go to the beginning. And Sean says first. Redline Report says second. Phantom third. And I said, fuck, fourth. Jeez. And Mrs. Ever says hi for BZ himself. The Phantom snuck into first place under. And Mission Ready Man Earl is late. Son of a gun, no fair, you're cheating. Big E, welcome here. Welcome to Sean. Welcome to the Phantom. Sean is in the chat room. That's nice. There. He was the lead-in graphic. Let's see who else we have here. Mission Ready Men. And let's see if there's... Oh, look! Here's what I was looking for. First one of the night. It's... And Cosmic Bard, proving once again, the lost wanderer, that not all who wander are lost. But Cosmic Bard will appreciate this. I know this for a factorious. My Galactus t-shirt that I'm wearing and I'm going to have to bend over for this one. My head. Get your brain out of the you know where. No gutter. Too early for that. Wouldn't be prudent. Anyway, Cosmic Bard, check out the hat. Fantastic Four hat. Very nice. Damn it, Merlin. That's exactly what I said. And of course, Sean bringing up this, that I am the fourth in comments on my show. How sad, Cosmic Bard. Hey, sweet. So, Cosmic Bard, I hope you're feeling better. And now, drum roll, please. Let's see if I can get a drum roll. I'm going to have to do this myself because certain personnel aren't here. Good God. Guest tonight is none other than Sean Lewis. One each. It's time to go crazy. Right, Sean? Time to go crazy?
It's always time to go crazy. That's what happens whenever I show up. I mean, that's just the name of the game.
Are you going crazy? Do you have some of this, as a matter of fact?
I actually do not.
It's not potato water. I'm sharing whatever.
I normally have my bourbon, but I am drinking my little sody waters that I enjoy so much.
Very nice.
You know, Phantom, I can't tell if that's a good or a
Yeah. See, I can't. That's the whole point. I can't tell whether it's yay. You know, if you're gonna truth in comments, if you're gonna comment, you know, and it's positive, go yay. Yeah. Or Sean is probably saying something similar to what?
I think yeah, it was ambiguous.
What does that mean, really? So Mission Ready Man says it's going to be very interesting. Iron Cosmic Bards, 55 degrees in air quality, finally in the green. Now I get that reference because Jeff the Cosmic Bard, who is also the Wanderer who is not lost, had said something similar to where he is right now. He's getting smothered by all the smoke from the wildfires set by Trudeau in Canada when he lost. How sad. Very, very sad. So anyway, Sean is here tonight. He's going to be here for about an hour. I have a few things to do. I have a little intro for some humor. We're going to be talking about news and info and stuff like that. And then it shouldn't surprise anyone that I'm going to transition over to my new segment, which is Weapons Grade Stupid. Wait a minute. If I had a producer, what you would have heard is something like this.
Weapons Grade Stupid. The segment where anyone can play, but leftists are overqualified.
And boy, that's the truth. Anyway, after that, we're going to go into the receipts. Do we have the receipts? And Sean may be gone by this time. I'm not quite sure, but oh my, OMG. Lord, do I have a ton of happy stories. Well, let's drop this onto the stage and play. This is about a minute and a half of something that I found amusing.
It's so weird how the whole planet can be in debt. But I think it's possible because countries don't owe money to each other, but countries owe money to banks. And if the countries owe money to banks, how stupid are the countries to pay it? If a country has an army. The bank has 4 cashiers and a cleaning lady.
Oh, that's on a good day.
We have to pay.
It gets better.
They have threatened us. They sent us a letter. If we don't pay now, they might send another letter. What do we do then? We have a nuclear submarine, but they have a stapler. Like, it's so weird. Like, I'm sure that if, like, for example, Genghis Khan would have, like, in his time borrowed some loan from some mortgage from some bank, I'm sure that he would never have paid it. Like, the bank at the door that you have to pay. Well, I have 10,000 horsemen spears. Do I really have to pay? No. But it will affect your credit rating.
I saw that, and I seldom actually laugh out loud. That's not my way. That's not my kind.
It's
But I
factual,
saw
though.
that. But it's truth, because humor, as everyone knows, is only funny when it contains elements of truth. And you and I,
that actually contained a lot of truth.
that contained a veritable ass load. This is a graphic. It's a visual. Now, for those of you on Spreaker or who are just listening to this in podcast, this is me holding my voluminously fat hands up and indicating this is an ass load. Well, this is who's that chick that everybody hates now? This is maybe her ass load, and this is Bertha Butt's ass load way over here, which is so.
Though, oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, every time I hear something like that, and what's the bank gonna do? It reminds me that Pepsi actually briefly possessed the 6th largest navy in the world. Do you know this story?
No.
I will read this to you. Just the facts. There's more to it, but
you got to tell.
So the banks may not be able to beat you up, but Pepsi could have in 1989. They briefly possessed the 6th largest navy in the world due to a unique trade agreement with the Soviet Union. The company exchanged soft drinks for a fleet of Soviet vessels, including 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate, and a destroyer. However, Pepsi immediately sold it off for scrap metal.
Wow. Okay. Did not know that. Did not see that coming at all.
And that's a true story. It happened in 1989. So for a while, for a few hours, Pepsi was a force to be contended with.
Well, unlike the French, who could only view their navy through a glass bottom boat at one point, let's do this. Let's go into this. I heard about this at the very last second, and I'd like to chat about this, just throw some chaw back and forth. Why modern masculinity is a climate issue. It's like, do you fuckers have nothing? You are all out of topics and ideas. And then just when you think they can't go low, like I said on the previous show, like whale shit slowly floating to the bottom of the 26,000 foot Mariana Trench, then you go this low. So, okay, this is the sentence that they start with. What does masculinity have to do with the climate? A surprising amount. We would all be surprised. Significant figures in the manosphere combine misogyny with anti-environmentalism.
Of course there is.
Right. Think
the two must live together.
Yeah, exactly. So anti-environmentalism is all about men. So I guess the point of that being, if we could just
what chick wrote that, and how many abortions did she have? Yeah,
exactly. And how many in a row? Because see, the weird thing about that is, to have an abortion as a leftist woman, you must first get pregnant. Now, if you were artificially inseminated, that means you paid money for that. So, that would be like throwing all your money away. So that means that some little twerp had to copulate with that unit in order to produce something that subsequently that female aborted.
Have you ever met a 21-year-old kid?
God,
like, let's be honest, 18 to 22.
I know where you're going.
There's no real no coming out of the mouth. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of, at 2 a.m. You sometimes you got to throw hooks out behind the boat as you're trolling on the way out just to see what happens. And I think that's how a lot of this happens. Now, I want to make a comment on that it said modern masculinity. What do we know about modern masculinity? Well, what they consider to be modern masculinity is not traditional masculinity. It is not guys who believe that they should, take care of things and, do what guys do, right? Grunt, drink beer, lift weights, and get into fights when we have to, yada, yada, yada. They mentioned modern masculinity, which I believe is killing the planet, not so much the climate, But because there are so many damn pussies in this world now who never stand up for what they know in their heart is right, for not standing up. I mean, look, I don't know if you saw, it was driving me nuts. There was an American airline that landed, or that was starting to take off, and it had a wheel fire. It blew a tire and it caused a fire in the wheel assembly.
Right.
This just happened 3-4 days ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, it wasn't far. Wasn't long ago.
You look at the slide out the front of the plane and everybody's coming down. And do you know how many males were coming down already with their phone out, just watching people coming out of the plane, not trying to help anybody at the bottom, not making sure nobody went flying off, not making sure a kid doesn't get launched off the ramp, standing at the bottom, helping. None of them.
Well,
it
they all had their carry-ons.
And they all had their carry-ons.
And all taking their carry-ons with them.
Yeah, their purses. Their man purses were more important. And I said to myself, like, I get that not everybody in that situation is going to turn around and be like, I got to stand close to the burning plane and help people. But the fact that there was zero, it blows my mind. That's modern masculinity. That's what that is. Traditional masculinity is the gentleman I talked about in my show last night in Michigan, the Marine who stepped up when there was a guy slashing people and engaged him and stopped it. That's traditional masculinity. That's
dude is a stud. Now, I make no reference to melanin count other than to those whom melanin count matters. But predominantly, you and I don't give a ragged, pustule-ridden cyst about melanin count or paint job. But I mention this because it's so important to leftists and Democrats. Dude was black.
Yeah.
Dude was a retired Marine. There is no such thing as an ex-Marine. They'll tell you.
I know. I said it last night.
It's true. And dude was armed lawfully and brought that shit to an end. You know,
Mr.
and
Derek Perry,
if you've ever seen the video, if you were aligned with law enforcement in any way, if you ever saw the video Surviving Edged Weapons by Caliber Press, you know, it's like
old, huh?
It's like HMOG. If you saw that, then you would have an entirely new appreciation for knives, for edged weapons. Oh my God, it's amazing. I got to put this up right now too. Now, who's the chick, the model that did the American Eagle jeans? Sweeney, is that her name?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nice, hottie, young. Even an old fart like me looked at that and said, "Yeah, okay, yeah." This is the new
smoke show.
Oh yeah, this is the new shindig. Liberals getting fatter, conservatives getting skinnier, and it all comes back to the most important thing in life. It's like study after study proves female appearance is directly affected by the level of stress and angst someone feels. Hair loss, wrinkles, weight gain can all be connected to stress. Now stop right there. Can you delineate for me, Sean, or anyone else, the burgeoning, just exploding number of leftist females who are happy and satisfied?
Zero.
Bueller?
There might be 4 or 5. And look, I mean, we as a nation, you and I don't have a lot of room to stand here and talk about people that are in shape, right? That's really not the argument you and I want to be having.
Round is a shape. Come on.
However, there is something, and we find out more about this as time goes on. There's something to be said is the food we have been eating for the last 25 years is so full of shit that it has, and yeah, we have an eating problem, but we've been eating a lot of unhealthy shit because we were told it was healthy and it's not in fact healthy. You know, 5 years ago, if I told you that there was microplastics in people's bodies, people would have laughed me out of social media completely, off the air. Now we know there are in fact microplastics all over people's bodies because it was in the food that we were eating. So there is an element of that involved. Does that mean there were never fat people before 1970s? No, but they were fewer and farther between. And now it's entirely different. Yes, more conservative people that I know are focusing on their health and eating better. And I'm not saying I know liberals that aren't. I'm just saying I know a lot of conservative people that do. I've actually been doing that for the last couple months. I've been trying. It's hard to go
I
running.
have given you my effort. I have taken all the effort that I have to try to get thin, and I shipped it express mail across the country.
And that's why I've gotten nowhere.
Jesus. Hey, look, folks, it's Kiwi Lass.
All the way on the other
thanks
side
for being in here. We appreciate it. Everyone welcome Kiwi Lass. The Phantom said hello. So thanks for being in chat.
And she is actually a time traveler because it's already tomorrow where she is.
Yes, it's like I say with Jack Alexander, it's tomorrow's news today. And with her, it's tomorrow's comments today.
Yes.
With a little time travel linked in there a bit. Now, I responded to you 2 days ago, maybe something like that. And I'm trying to remember, I know the response. I'm trying to think of the tweet that you put out that made me say something. I said something very similar to this, and it was regarding leftist women. Because, that's who we're talking to, because they're also happy and satisfied. And I said something similar to, part of being a leftist woman, particularly a white leftist woman, is that you must have either a very ugly soul or no soul whatsoever. You have no inner beauty. You have no outer beauty. You have an aura of like hatred and insanity, like over the top, 24/7 anger. You got you got a pitched, shrill voice, like crap. I can't even think of the actress, Fran Drescher. Okay, that would crack the plexiglass on Shamu's tank. Many of them are not entirely dissimilar from Shamu. Hair the color of nothing that occurs in nature.
That's not true. They show up on poisonous dart frogs.
Oh, okay, very good. Or sea snakes.
Because the reason they're that brightly colored is it's a warning that they're venomous.
Yeah, exactly. They come all with their Mark 1, Model 1 nose ring and clit piercings for their little lesy pals, and usually
I don't care about the last two.
4-inch armpit hair, and they have replete with bunions and hemorrhoids, and that's essentially who leftist women are right now. So people who agree with me.
Oh yeah, and I agree with you entirely. And it's amazing because I know plenty of conservative women who dye their hair and have crazy tattoos and all this other stuff, and they're not at all like that. Because they're confident in who they are, for starters. Usually they're confident, right? They're just confident in themselves and not obnoxious, just confident. Like, hey, no, I can do this, I can do that, whatever. And that goes so freaking far. But the other thing is, they're not jealous of other people who maybe have something better or look better or whatever. They're not hateful and spiteful. They don't wish ill upon them. And that's what you see out of a lot of, I call them awfuls, angry white female liberals. That's what I see out of them, is they hate anything that is slightly more attractive than them in any way, shape, or form. And it blows my mind to see them go out there and talk about feminism when they're supporting things like, I don't know, guys. They're supporting and heralding guys who would beat the bag out of them for looking twice wrong at them. And, they're defending sexual predators and spousal abusers who are being deported. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I'll tell you, modern femininity killed the feminism movement. The feminism movement was essentially like, hey, I just want the opportunity to, and then it's upon me to follow through and make it happen, right? That's really what back in the day feminism was. I just want the opportunity. And that doesn't mean if I do one thing or if I do another, that choice is mine. But you look at firefighters and cops in the military. Give them the opportunity. Hey, if they pass the same test and they can do the same thing and they can keep up, great. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. 100%. You're going to get in the fight with me? Great. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's run. It's the ones who demand equality and then go into fields like that specifically and then say, well, instead of doing the regular push-ups, I want to do half as many in their knee push-ups. And I'm not going to go over the 6-foot wall. I want a 3-foot wall. Or I want 10 fingers to have somebody help me up over the wall. That's the thing that I don't think that people realize is the problem a lot of people have with modern feminism is you have the opportunity by and large. Yeah, there may be little pockets. It's just like racism. There may be little pockets here and there that you're never going to get rid of. But overall, look, I mean, I how many medical professionals I've had that were females that I felt way better with than some of the guys that I met in that field. And all of these different things. I was just in the ER a couple weeks ago. Everybody from the doctor down to the person who walked me out was a female. And you know what? They were all incredibly competent. They were all incredibly awesome.
Yeah. Nope. No problem. You want to be equal. Let's talk about equality as it is true equality all across the board. Let me go back to this a little bit. Cosmic Bard said, my mom and younger sister are white liberal chicks and redheads. And then he says, talk about no soul. Kiwi Lass also weighed in and said, I have purple hair, 11 tats. I believe in truth and a moral compass. CUMPASS. I see what you're doing there. Okay. Nice. Very, very nice.
Kiwi, we'll talk off the air.
Yeah. We'll talk. And then Squall White is in here. Faded Jeans
over in Facebook.
Pay attention, y'all. So thanks to everybody for being here tonight and for everyone being here. I get almost nobody from Facebook. So that we have somebody from Facebook, that is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
I wish that Facebook would open up. I wish the algorithm over there would open up because there's every time we get one or two cool people in Facebook, there's nobody with them to engage. And Squall, you can always come over to YouTube and talk with everybody else is in the chat room if you want.
Well, see, and that's the deal. That's true. Let me put this up.
Then, of course, we wouldn't be booking our fan base inside. Yeah.
We're up to 592. My God, folks, just like last time, a couple of months ago, we are this close to getting 600 subscribers on the SHR Media YouTube channel. Now, both Sean and I and everyone on SHR, we were pumping the crap out of please subscribe if you will. We got to 500. And then the funny thing is, just like Sean prognosticated, said, if we tend to break that 500 limitation, I bet things will open up a little bit. And the funny thing was, oddly enough, you were right. And then also on Rumble, I have 117 followers over there. Give me another week, and I'd like to have 11,000 if you wouldn't mind doing that into. And then the other thing that we always emphasize here at SHR is if you want to chat, we want you to chat. We would love to see you in chat, but the best chat room to be in is at SHR Media, the SHR Media YouTube channel. That is absolutely the best place to be. Now, I have my chat room. My chat room is a little different. And I change them. I change them frequently. It costs a lot of money, but this is my current plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room. And I hope that is an attractant, not to flies and gnats, but to people to descend into the chat room. Before we take the break, let me go back here a little bit.
Yeah.
And go back. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That.
The wee one is on Mom's account at her house and popped in to say hi. Tuesday night, she let me know you were on the air as well.
Wow. And then in response to that, what did we see? Now go to bed.
I know.
Oh, it's a good thing that, I was very cautious with my words.
Yes.
Because my my words sometimes require a little parsing.
It is an adult show, and she knows that. She's just being a little sneaky.
But see,
and she has the number 2 crown in chat. That's how much she's been blowing up chat.
Oh yeah, but here's the other thing. And folks, before I take a break, I'm going to put this out, and you guys, and I want you all to do this all at once, because here's that, and everybody needs to say, "Ah,
hey, that's my little girl.
That's
my baby.
That's my baby right there."
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log entry. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm BZ. I'm back. And you are in the saloon. Thanks to everybody for being here tonight. We also have Sackhead Sean, who is right here. One each. Over to, let's see if I'm pointing in the right direction. Yes, over here.
That way.
Sackhead
oh, wait,
Sean.
no.
You're
over there. I'm over here.
Yeah, I have to remember to do it backwards. And we have a lot of stories coming up, a lot of things to talk about. And
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving.
I'm going to show you very briefly the stories that we will discuss here. Canada and Macron and an ISIS attack and a suit and illegals were arrested. Who will survive AI and who won't? And that's what we'll be discussing Ignition sequence is go. So let's talk about this first, because as this guy says,
oh, I was strapping in.
Stand by for news.
Stand by for news. Okay. Anybody have any idea who that is or who that was? Folks?
Oh, I know.
I know you know. Come on, Paul Harvey.
The way it is.
One of the best of his kind. Now, I went to this in the news section. So Canada says it's going to recognize Palestine as a state, and it's going to be joining the UK and France. They have already decided that they're going to recognize that. And as it indicates here, Macron decides that he's going to ally with the Islamists. I have some thoughts about that, and then I'd like to go to Sean. Here's what I believe is happening. Any and every large kind of Western country that recognizes Palestine, air quotes, like the UK and France and Canada, is a country that falls into one of these categories. Now, they are not the only countries that recognize Palestine. There's actually probably 50 or 60 or close to 100 countries that already recognize Palestine, consisting primarily of nation states that you've never heard of before. So here are the categories in which the capitalists have decided to recognize Palestine. They are either GALP-oriented in terms of they are guilty, overeducated white people. They are already flooded and overtaken by Muslims, or they are a state that fears Islam just because of that and their presence, or the nation state is run by cowards who repress and foil the wishes and the demands of their actual electorate, the people that live in the nation itself, by their native citizens, or they're virtue signaling for their other leftists and their other globalists who they are there to impress, which is essentially to the detriment of all of their own people, who they themselves must suffer the direct consequences of living under that. Or, I'll take one from column A, one from column B, and 3 from column C, or a combination of all of that stuff. Thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say this. Oh, Canada, you've stepped in so much shit.
Yes.
Unbelievably bad decision for them, France and England. This is appeasement. I talked about this on my show, and I talked about this online. You cannot appease yourself out of the violence and troubles that you are having as a result of your open border policies. If you appease, and that's all this is. This is literally to save their own skin. This is to try to get the troubles at home, which not the troubles that happened in Ireland in the 80s, the new set of troubles that they have.
Entirely different.
At home, to go away. And it's not going to go away. I'll tell you right now, in their little broken brains, I think that if they recognize Gaza as a state and Gaza becomes its own entity, then all of these people who are in their countries that want to go live in a Muslim country are going to go back to Gaza. I think that's like somehow in their brain, like maybe that'll happen and some will go back. And we all know, bye, Leah. We all know it's not going to happen. Yep, yuck it up. And it's problematic. Look, you're essentially saying to Israel, screw you. We don't care about you. We're trying to save our phony baloney jobs. And we're going to recognize this state, which will, if you get to a 2-state solution, all Gaza or Palestine will become is a mini Iran. Except they're going to have all of the capabilities of Iran given to them, and it's going to be right on the doorstep of Israel and closer to Europe. It's bad on so many levels.
let's say this, because Kiwi Lass has said that, gosh, I have a story that I'd like to be able to tell you. So, okay, the phone lines are open. Phone lines, multiple, because Jesus, everyone knows there are at least 10 phone lines into the studio here right now, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Actually, that's a big ass lie. So the phone line, singular.
Phone lines are open on the Great Big Show tonight.
That's right. The phone lines are open. So you can, Kiwi Lass, if you're interested. Now, I don't know what international phone calls or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know what kind of country code you have to put in order to get there.
Last, you have to understand something. BZ can barely operate a cell phone.
Oh, come on.
So international calling might be a little bit out of his reach. So you're going to have to do the hard work.
If she gets here, if I look over and I see that phone operating right now, oh my God. Do I? Oh, okay.
Does it say Kiwi on the caller ID?
No, it has, it says Waihi. Okay, so Waihi, Waihi, I'm guessing Kiwi Lass is in New Zealand. Yes, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, kia ora, guys. Yes, it's me, Anne from Waihi. Yes, you pronounced it right.
Well,
How you guys doing?
We are really happy to see you here. Well, not visibly see you here, but we grok the whole concept. So thanks. What the hell ever made you drop in on SHR Media, or me or Sean or anybody? How the heck did you ever find us?
I do not know how the heck I found you guys, but I just have, and I will be in and out. I mean, life's busy these days, right? This is my mid-afternoon. This is like 3 o'clock. So I'm not always around at 3, but I'm here today. Do you remember that mass shooting we had here in New Zealand in 2019?
Yes.
Unfortunately, yes. But correct me, was this the one where someone who was some kind of a cult leader or something had amassed any number of weapons and decided to drop in on a part? Well, anyway, I should shut the hell up because I don't know what I'm talking about. So tell us, please.
Okay, so I've also got to be careful because it's still something we're not meant to talk about here. But I will say this. They are going to have us fighting each other on our own streets with radical Islam, just radicalness regardless. But Islam is one of the ones that are going to be weaponized against us. When that happened, a week after that happened here, she asked for us to join in solidarity. That was our Prime Minister, who you should be very concerned of as well. She asked all the women in this country to put on a hijab. In other words, getting every woman to submit to Islam.
Wasn't that Jacinda Ardern?
Yeah, Jacinda Ardern. She's a very treacherous woman. She's in America at the moment working in one of the universities, lecturing on socialist, Marxist, communist friggin' traits. You know, gun grabs and everything like that. She was also heading out something with Prince William, some green friggin' thing to save plants, but, theoretically, they're actually poisoning plants, animals, and humans. Since you talked about the bioplastics, it's in everything, even our ground. The microplastics, whatever. When she asked this country for women to put on a hijab, she was submitting every woman to Islam. Yes. And I refuse to be a part of any of this.
As well, you shouldn't. There's another friend of mine who comes on the show. He used to be here with a fair amount of regularity, and his name is Jack Alexander. He lives in Australia. He's in New South Wales, in Victoria. And the stories that he told me about the times of COVID, he's also a driver. He drives a lot of people around. He was in either Iran or Iraq and understands a bit of Farsi. And some of the things, some of the abrogations that were relayed to me by him about the appeasement and capitulation on behalf of Australia were really, really very sad. Very, very sad. And it's sad to see so many Western nations doing this. And but don't worry. Well, yeah, worry, but it's happening here. Marseille is gone. There are portions of France. I just spoke to somebody who went through Paris and spent literally thousands and thousands of dollars to fly into Paris.
Yep.
And then sent me photos that I don't have permission to publish about what Paris, downtown Paris, looks like today. And we used to laugh about all the, and Sean used to laugh about this with me, all the barbecues at night in Paris and various other French cities. And we thought, that's cute. I like that play on the name barbecues. They're still burning cars in Paris.
Every night. And Switzerland too. They don't talk about it in the news at all. Switzerland is having massive issues. I mean, there are car bombings in Switzerland every day, and they try to mask it as gang violence. It's between these two gangs, and they are two gangs, but they're both Muslim gangs. It is a problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is our problem. We are so quick to believe in our news articles now that are out by our mainstream news platforms. We're starting to unseat ours over here. Finally. We've finally got a soft Trump, I guess. But we're in such chaos over here anyway with our government. You know the movies, London Has Fallen and Olympus Has Fallen?
Yeah, yes. Gerard Butler.
Our countries. We are falling. But here's the difference. We've got radical heads of state that are aiding this in. They're keeping you and me busy, occupied, because we're having to maneuver on our own streets, in our own homes, to get from A to B safely. They've kept us wrapped up and busy protecting ourselves, that we've allowed all this to happen. I wish America would step up to the gun, because at the end of the day, radical Islam goes against your constitution and your constitutional rights. Radical Islam should be marched out of America. It's been done before. But it is an absolute violation of your own constitutional rights in America. And I wish America would rise up.
We all agree. I'm much more strident than some other people in terms of Islam. As far as I'm concerned, Islam is nothing more than a barbaric death cult that doesn't belong anywhere in a Western nation at all. But the things that I indicated before, a lot of that stuff stems from guilty, overeducated white people making ridiculous decisions. And it stems from, the entire tide began, if you recall, and everyone, Sean, with Angela Merkel and her decision that she was going to take Syrians during the war. And then because she is a GAUP, she is a guilty, overeducated white person who was in Germany, who was attempting, I think, to somehow try to atone for World War II and open her arms wide. When the flood commenced in Deutschland, then it had no other alternative but to flood other countries as well. Now, Western countries, of course, we talk about the terrible word colonizer. Well, Western countries were in fact colonizers and occupied a lot of countries in Northern Africa, and they're paying for that today, and they pulled out. So it was brought on by themselves and by GAUPs and by Germany and by Angela Merkel, and they don't know what to do to stop it.
Right. Well, just two pushbacks. Europeans are not the only ones that have colonized.
Right.
right? We're not. Now, New Zealand is a prime example of that right now. They're trying to push us into an apartheid over here. So what they call Indigenous here, settled here 1,000 years ago, where we settled here only a few hundred years ago. So if they're settlers themselves, how are they classed as natives? But yet we've got to bow to this oppression and what they want in rules and laws. And again, if you go dig into the history of the Middle East, the majority of the Middle East was Christian. It wasn't Islam, because Islam wasn't around at the time. It was Christian nations. What about Persia? They want to talk about giving Palestine back to the Palestinians. Well, why don't we give Persia back to the Persians, the Christian Persians?
Well,
it wasn't Iraq.
There's a story that I was going to play that, let me see if I can go to this. I won't.
Can I make a quick point while you're looking?
Sure. There it is right there, but go ahead, sir.
So the problem we have now in America with what's going on with this is they realize now it is a voting bloc. That's what the Democrats see with the Muslim community, specifically Michigan and the groups of Somalians and all the other ones, is they see, just like they do with all the other immigrants, that's potential voters that if we give them a bunch of stuff, they come from a place where they've never had it so good, and we flood them with stuff, they will vote us and keep us in power. And who cares what it does to the neighborhoods? Who cares what it does to the cities? Yada, yada, yada. So just like they use the illegals in this country as a tool to get people to vote for them, they're doing the same things with these appeasements. It's why they actually, I saw a legitimate government announcement from a town in England looking for a Sharia law expert to work for the county, the city, whichever municipality it was. And I was blown away by it, but that's exactly why they look at it as a voting bloc. We don't see what's happening. Well, we do. The left doesn't see what's happening in the UK and in Europe and realizing that will be us if we don't start making some changes.
Well, particularly because they have I believe leftists are sufficiently addled that they have no real grasp of reality, when in fact, a lot of the poor ones live directly in the midst of that. I mean, I lived in my wife's house before we moved in what I called Ghetto Central. And I was the only white there. Nobody else spoke English. I made the mistake one day of running all the homes around there to see how many people were on probations or PALs or parolees at large. Well, that would be the bulk of them. So I lived in all that stuff. I know what it's like to live in situations like that. The people that vote this crap in are those who are the elitists. They perceive themselves to be the elitists, and they are not directly affected by the results of their elections, their votes, their policies, their rules, their regulations, their laws. So, the bottom line is they really don't give a fuck about what happens to you or me in any nation at all. And those are commonalities shared by the bulk of European or civilized nations. Go.
We saw that under the lockdowns, right?
Yes.
How there's a set of rules and a set of rules for them. And even on Twitter, I was calling it out with Kim.com. He was praising Jacinda, and I was giving Kim.com beans for praising her, just because he sat in a mansion and he wasn't losing a job, a business, a house, a family. It didn't affect him because he's living on everyone else's dime because he scammed off everything else. And it affected people like you and me in these lockdowns. So there's a set of rules for them above X amount of money and a set of rules for everybody else. We saw that clear case. And again, it's weaponizing us, and it's them moving certain people into power positions. And Islam has certainly been one of the people that they've used for over a decade against us. Moving in the immigrants are the settlers, are the refugees, and they're pushing us out of our own homes and our own jobs and our own communities. And they're weakening us while strengthening immigrants. You're meant to strengthen your own people in your own country first before you strengthen the immigrant population. And shouldn't we rebuild their country so they can live at home, so we can have our homes to ourselves?
Well, and I say this all the time, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but it blows my mind that they come here allegedly seeking a better life, and then the first thing they do is they turn their neighborhoods into the places that they just left.
Well, and they're not interested in assimilation, nor are they interested in speaking our language, nor are they interested in our cultures, norms, and mores and ethics. And so what do you get if you leave a shithole, create a shithole, you get a shithole. And I can't be any more succinct than that. Also, Kiwi Lass, I have to ask you one other thing. Jack Alexander, who's the guy from Australia, has told me any number of times that after a 1996 shooting, Australia confiscated firearms. Did that roll over to New Zealand as well?
No, it didn't. However, we did over the years get a few tightened gun laws. What happened here in 2019 was, well, we can't say whether it was somebody not doing their job properly in the police force when it comes to vetting for a gun license, or it was incompetency somewhere else. It should never have happened. But this guy obviously had money, so he paid for a lot of things to slip through the systems, I guess. Some people do that. All she did was a gun buyback, so she didn't get them all, and she never went after the guns from gangs. They would have been the first ones I would have set my eyes on.
Oh, yeah.
Not lawful guns.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, look, I believe everyone should carry a sidearm. I'm 100% in belief of that, because this is the crimes. The amount of gun crime I've seen increase in this country since the mass shooting here is insane. And it's all gang or thug related. Just quickly, have you read your first prayer of Continental Congress that was written in 1774?
Yes, and I love even more the fact that you clearly have.
That you know it. That you're aware of it.
Right, so that's one of my utmost favourite documents. That is the document that any immigrant should uphold, and if they can't uphold that, if they can't fall on the mercy of America, then they shouldn't be going to America seeking freedoms.
Well, when I played this before on the show, I don't have it up and available right now, but we had a SCOTUS jurist, Supreme Court of the United States jurist by the name of Ginsburg, who said outright that, you know, if she was speaking about in terms of Egypt, and Egypt was looking to craft a new constitution. And what she said essentially was, if you're looking to create a new constitution, do not look to the United States of America's constitution, primarily because the people and the founders in there say that their rights, and this is not a quote from her, but I speak leftist, so I translate all of these things, which is our rights here in the United States were given to us by God, not government. Our founders were very specific about that. And our Constitution does the exact opposite of what most people want for constitutions today. And that is, it limits government, not people. And the people that create constitutions today don't want government limited like ours.
Yeah, they hate the theory that laws are natural.
Yeah, so with your Trump's MAGA, I have my own version of MAGA, okay? And it's based on your foundations. And it's not about making America great. It's about making a godly alliance. We've got to make a godly alliance with each other because of what we're going into. We've got to make a godly allegiance. We've got to take an allegiance to a moral compass, to God, to Jesus. And then we've got to make a godly army. So there's my MAGA. Make a godly alliance, make a godly allegiance, make a godly army.
Okay, Kiwi Last, let me ask you this. I'm going to have to take a break in a couple of seconds. You're on the phone. Would you like to hang on the phone for about another 3 minutes during the break, and we can continue to chat past the break at the top of the hour? Would you be interested, or do you have to jam?
No, I don't have to jam today. I'm fine to hang out with you guys.
Okay, folks, that is Kiwi Lass. Oh, yeah, you're going to have to take off. That's a good point. But anyway, Sean will be taking off here because he has to go to work tomorrow, I'm assuming. And he has to get up at 0:30. So I'm BZ. Kiwi Lass is on the phone. Say goodbye to Sackhead Sean. We'll be back after this.
Thanks, BZ.
Done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRN You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right. You can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm back. I'm BZ. Thanks to Sean for being here tonight. and jumping in. That was something that he had not anticipated doing. I always like to talk to Sean. Who would? Who doesn't? Who wouldn't? And so thanks to everybody else for being here. You can listen on KLRN at KLRN on X. We're on the SHR Media YouTube channel. We are wide, we are ubiquitous, we are all over the place, and we are predominantly fabulous. All of us, including the fat guy right here. I'm sorry. The ancient fat guy right here. On the phone also, we happen to have, I asked her to hold over. This is Kiwi Lass, live and direct tomorrow from New Zealand. And I want to ask one final question of her. And that's this. You don't have the same problem that Australia apparently has with firearms. You've delineated to us at the end of the first hour some of the issues that you guys are having with Islam / what I call illegal invaders. And we're starting to turn things around a little bit. And the leftists and the Democrats are shitting kittens, throwing camshafts and car parts because they're encountering serious pushback on this. And there is hope, at least for the next 3.5 years for us until we get our crap together and decide who's going to come in 2028. But in your country, New Zealand, you've clearly indicated with bullet points some of the problems with New Zealand. Now, do you guys have a plan or some kind of how are you guys going to fix this? Are there people or organizations who are committed to keeping New Zealand, and not letting your country is absolutely beautiful. It is gorgeous. How do you keep your country, New Zealand? Kiwi Lass.
So this is an argument we're having now. So a lot of people call Aotearoa. I refuse to call it that because Aotearoa was a derived name after New Zealand. I think a lot of the spoken language today has actually started coming around since the 1980s, where there were the Maori language, each tribe had their own version of it. Now they're incorporating it in one, which is not right because each tribe was quite vastly different to the other. Some were quite passive tribes and some were quite radical tribes. Just like anywhere else, we've got the select elite in the Maori that are causing these problems. So there is a lot of pushbacks. We've had a couple of deputy prime ministers that have pushed back on this recently. Winston Peters being one of them, New Zealand First leader. He done some good stuff. I'm hoping David Seymour pushes back. But the general population here, we also push back. 2016, we had a referendum for our flag. We managed to keep our flag.
Okay.
But that cost us $26 million. I'm sorry, but if we're going to do referendums for things like this, they shouldn't be costing the taxpayers at all. The ones who want to front these ideals, these ideologies, they should be paying for it out of their pockets instead of out of the taxpayers' pockets, because we don't want these things. It's just like I see some things in America. They should be getting fronted out of whoever's pockets instead of the taxpayers' pockets. They're using our taxpayers' money as leverage, and then they deplete our coffers that it could be used in real education, that could be used in the hospitals where it's needed. But they want to deplete our coffers by having us fight these insane policies, these bizarre policies. And then that drains our systems, and that then infects our communities, our education, our medical. So it's a consistent battle, any which way we're fighting this. And we don't see that there's more than one battle going on at the same time when they're doing this to us.
Okay, so I thought that was the final question. One final question. Folks, I'm talking to Kiwi Lass. She is live and direct from tomorrow, and she is here in the Saloon. She's from New Zealand. And so one final question for you, because I'm going to have to move on with the rest of the show, and that's this. Are there any politicians or any people coming up in the ranks that are popular with the people who are interested in holding on to New Zealand? In other words, what's your future? Are there some people lining up who have the fortitude within themselves to try to keep New Zealand free and also fight some of the fights from turning New Zealand into exactly what it doesn't want to be and what somebody else who has no vested interest in New Zealand, they want it to be?
We do have some new parties coming into play. We have something. We can have what you'd call frig me days, because what we've got in our parliament is actually three entities coming together as one.
Okay.
I think my words are all muddled today. So we do have new parties coming into the play. They're definitely there for the people, but they're relatively new, so it's going to take a while before these guys actually really make any steam ahead in Parliament. But they are coming through. But the radical stuff is coming through louder and harder, and that's the problem, because one group of voices certainly outweighing the other group of voices. Just like in America, you know, you've got your Democrats who a lot of them are out there, they're thugs on the street, they get away with everything. But if you go to a J6 event, you'll probably get arrested and silenced. Similar mentalities.
Okay, so all right, that was two questions that I said were going to be the last questions. Let me ask the actual last question. Do you have hope, Kiwi Lass, for the future of New Zealand?
I have hope if America can survive.
Okay. Because you think that we are inexorably linked in terms of our desires, our co-desires for freedom? I think that's part of it. I definitely think that's part of it. But because of the way your constitution is set, if the people rise up and protect those documents, right, what it does, and Trump's doing it now, because we're seeing what he's doing with the Obamagate stuff, all of that, right? The Russia collusion. We're seeing how all this truth is now coming out. Once this is out in the open and it's all been dealt with, I think this is going to be the international red pill. Now that there will certainly make people sit back in their seats and start rethinking things. And then if they've got some moral compass, they will start pondering what's happened in the last 10 years in our own country. You know, one of my biggest questions is, why did John Keyes all of a sudden resign as our Prime Minister when Hillary Clinton lost the elections? You know, what was that about? Oh, unfamiliar with that. Okay.
I have this sort of, I see things, I hear things slightly different than some people. Like when Dan Bon Jovi mentioned that Epstein was the only one that left his cell. Well, a dead man doesn't walk, so how could he be the only one that went in the cell and left the cell? Okay, dead men don't walk. That's one. Two, when they showed the photos of the cell door, there were two different photos they showed. One down the corridor, the cell door was on the left. One was from where the guards sit. The cell door was on the right. How do you have a door on the left and a door on the right on your photos when it's the same cell? So there are things I pick up, others don't. Things when something's said and I hear it differently, and I'm like, oh, that's intriguing. Where did that come from? You know, and John Keys was meant to run for the elections the following year. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he resigned. He was also the one that set up, I believe, the funding of the Clinton Foundation here. So we think we pay in about $5 million a year or whatever it is. So again, this is our higher sector of heads that have colluded against all our Western nations, not just one. That's why I think America is very pinnacle right now, and Trump is absolutely needed to show light on truth. It's needed, because if we don't have this light shone on truth, we can kiss all our Western nations goodbye.
Let me point this out. You have a fan. You have an aficionado in chat by Mike Pasqua, who says, I love her accent. And at that point, I'm sure you're probably thinking, accent? What accent? I'm the one with the accent. And Phantom says, British? No. She's not British. No, she's from New Zealand. That's where she gets her name, Kiwi Lass. Okay, Kiwi Lass, thank you for being here. You have a 100% constantly extended invitation to be here whenever you're available. And we will always look forward to seeing you and thanking you for, I bet that phone call won't be cheap, is my guess.
Look, it doesn't worry me. I pay for a package deal with my phone system. So the phone call itself won't cost me. I pay $10 a month for international call plan.
Beautiful. Folks, thank you for being here. And you call back any damn time that you want. Folks, that's Kiwi Lass.
Yeah, and everyone have a blessed day. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much. See, that's one of the cool things about the internet and about having a podcast or having a live show, is that you're listened to by a lot more people than you suspect. Now, the constant is, people will listen to a show. They'll listen to a podcast later, but they're not that interested in calling in. That's one of the things that Hugh Hewitt said, is that we're losing people's interest in calling into shows. But every once in a while, you get someone to make you remember, yeah, this is going to a lot more places than I ever thought that it was going to go. Speaking of lots of places, and speaking of religion, and speaking of what I was going to talk about in the first place, because I got about 40 more minutes for the show, and I'm not going to do any overtime. 43 people, and this is customarily ignored by the American media maggots, 43 people have been killed in an ISIS, Islam-linked attack on a Christian church in Africa. Imagine that.
More than 40 worshipers killed after an attack on a church in Africa. An ISIS-linked group has claimed responsibility for this, and a witness has now come forward and spoken to Fox. Senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott has this horrifying story for us. So, Greg, what exactly did the witness say?
Sandra, it was an unbelievable massacre. In the words of the eyewitness to Fox, we don't understand why this is all happening. Some 43 people killed in cold blood by machete and gun-wielding rebels of the Islamic State-affiliated ADF outfit at a prayer vigil in a small town on the eastern border of Congo. Buildings there were also torched. The ugly toll included 15 men, 19 women, and 9 children. Their bodies found strewn around the area. Other children were abducted. The eyewitness added to Fox News Digital, they kill those that met in the church hall. Those who tried to flee were caught and killed in the compound and running towards the road. People were sad. There was sadness everywhere.
And that is the peace and tolerance of Islam, which I have said many, many times. I have taken a more strident view on that over the years. Let's go to, I am not going to have nearly enough time to cover all the things that I wanted. I don't even think again. I'm going to have to start out the show with happy stories because there's a ton of them, and I never get to happy stories because there are other things that I think are more important. And then I have guests. Folks call in. Always love that. And then all the things that I thought I was going to talk about, I don't get to talk about. Now, Kiwi Lass is so kind. She says, sorry. And my point is, I would much rather talk to you and speak to people from other countries and discover that there's a lot more that unifies us in a Western culture than splits us apart. Here's a story from Jonathan Turley. Now, there are a handful of journalists that I enjoy, that I believe are actual journalists anymore, and Jonathan Turley is one of them. And essentially what he said in this with regard to Congress and constitutional law, this is BS. Democrats sue to gain unlimited access to federal facilities. Well, basically what he was saying here is this is stupid. This maybe isn't weapons grade stupid, but it's stupid nevertheless. So demo members are claiming that they can demand access to any federal facility without approval or even notice to a given agency. And that has already occurred. So now an array of Democrat members have sued over their denial in various instances. And according to Jonathan Turley, the lawsuit is, in my view, fundamentally flawed, but the members appear to be hoping for another obliging judge, and there's a possible likelihood that they would take it. So they can't win in the popular fashion. So the only thing left for them as a result is lawfare, continuous and unending lawfare. And in terms of illegals and ICE, there's also this.
Still very active, multiple vehicles on this street. And we learned in the last 10 minutes, like you guys said, that an ICE officer shot into a vehicle 3 times after officials say two undocumented people tried to ram their vehicle into ICE officers that were here on scene. Now, officials say the 2 people ran from the scene and abandoned the vehicle. Law enforcement is currently out there searching for them. They say still very active, multiple vehicles.
So if you look at that, you'll notice that those are all homes under construction in El Paso, Texas. So imagine our chagrin that they were hiding in homes under construction. I've spoken about AI, and I'm going to be jumping through a whole bunch of different hoops, but I've spoken to AI, and now Microsoft has come up with a couple of lists of things that they believe AI will take down, and a list of things that will not be immediately slaughtered by AI. This is the list of things that they don't believe will be taken down immediately. And you can see interpreters, translators, sales agents, account clerks, assistants, web designers and developers, models, communication specialists, switchboard operators, that sort of thing. Let's go to the other list, because this list seems like it's backwards to me, but I'm going to be putting it up nevertheless. And they think this is the list of people who are kind of last on the chopping block, if you will. Phlebotomists, if you can believe that. Nursing assistants, hazardous administrators. Let's see if I've got this. Hazardous material removal workers, helpers, painters, plasterers, embalmers. That's happy. So AI is definitely going to have a most definite impact on all of this. Let me pull this down. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I've got somebody else on the line who would like to talk. And I think it's Mike Pasqua. Go ahead, Mike. What have you got to say, sir?
How you doing tonight, BZ?
Good. How about you?
I enjoy Kiwi Lass.
Oh, she was a great hoot. She was great people. And, when Jack calls in or somebody else called in, I had somebody I don't know, way back in 2019 also from New Zealand call in. And then there was another individual. God, I remember his name. He was from Australia, Dingo Dundee. And he called in for a while. And it was a lot of fun talking to people and realizing that you have an influence over the internet and you're reaching more people than you thought you had before. So she was a ton of fun. Oh, wait. She says, I know Dingo. He hasn't called into the show in a long time, but I remember I used to take his calls 5 years ago or so, something like that.
Yeah. And look, as far as your last story about the lawfare stuff, about these, my thing is this. There are things we can do with these judges that we've got a gutless Congress that doesn't want to do. All right. They can impeach these judges, and the Senate doesn't want to do that. And the House of Representatives has power of the purse. They could cut off the money and just flat out get rid of these courts, these federal district courts, if they wanted to. And they don't want to do that. So my theory is this: if those two things aren't going to happen, Trump has no other choice but to start arresting these judges.
Well, I don't think that would be absolutely unprecedented. Now, would I like to see that happen? Well, yes, of course I would. We already know that Judge Boasberg, a memo was leaked where he believes that all these other judges need to get together in order to make sure that Trump doesn't win. There are so many continuing examples of bias by black-robed anarchist judges. And the bias is so clear and obvious, it becomes very difficult to understand why we're not winning. But SCOTUS, this is exactly what leftists and Democrats want us to do. And this is what Boasberg was warning, is that someday he's afraid. And see, he's setting it up already to be able to say, see, I told you that was going to happen. SCOTUS has already ruled twice on this in terms of the judges and the various appeals and district courts should know their places. But that seems to be absolutely immaterial where the judges keep making these rulings. They, I believe, are all hoping for Trump to spray paint a line on the beach saying, I will no longer be holding to any of this. That is what they are salivating for. So they will not be getting rid of federal courts. They will not be getting rid of appellate courts. They will not be getting rid of district courts. SCOTUS has already ruled, and that means that they are abiding by what I have called many times Thug's Law. And Thug's Law is this. It's applicable to leftists, Democrats, globalists, and of course, black-robed anarchist judges. Thug's Law is this, and I learned this as a cop. Thugs believe what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine unless you're strong enough to stop me. Now that translates into politics and life in terms of this. We don't give a shit about law. We couldn't care less about any of these things. We're going to do what we want to do when we want to do it, unless someone with legal standing steps up and stops us. Now, courts take a long time, and stopping also involves, you get a whole host of people and you start rounding up illegal invaders. But the only thing that, like Islam, leftists and Democrats and globalists understand is violence and force. And violence and force can also translate to fighting back in court. When you're an individual, a group, or an agency with standing in terms of being able to fight. If you have no standing, you won't be heard. if there's any kind of an entry, summary judgment will be given, and likely you won't even be heard at all. So there must be pushback. There must be continuous pushback. It cannot stop. But they, Democrats, leftists, and the judges are operating by what I call Thug's Law.
Right. And think about this. I'll say it to some other friends, BZ, but think about this. Between Obama and Biden, they've appointed like at least 900, maybe more, of these federal district court judges, like Boasberg. 900 of them between the two of them. So they've got other people they can go to that, there may be the odd Clinton judge here and there, and maybe there may be an odd judge that the Bushes, that G.W. Bush has appointed, but that's few and far between, But most of these judges that are giving them trouble, that are giving Trump trouble, are what? Obama, Biden judges.
Well, yeah, appointees. And people will always fall back, and it's this country has been politicized to the point where no one can even recognize the truth. Judges are not biased. Bullshit. Politicians are not biased. Bullshit. The deep state is not biased. Bullshit. Federal courts are not biased. Bullshit. Appellate courts are not biased. Bullshit. It's the truth. Well, we're not political. We don't make political decisions. Everything is political. I belong to a Facebook group involving law enforcement, and they are way overtired of me because I will go on and talk in that group about things that affect them that they don't want to hear. It's mostly a group about retirees, or it's of retirees. And they don't want to hear any of that kind of stuff, but I know for a fact that they speak to their friends and their neighbors and even their loved ones and their relations and their siblings, and they speak to the kids and the grandkids who are involved in law enforcement and all this crap they need to know. Law enforcement itself has been politicized to an incredibly ridiculous degree. And I've had people send me messages. Would you keep this out of Facebook, our Facebook group? Because we don't do politics here. Law enforcement isn't about politics. To which I respond, you are a moron. Everything is political. Everything is political. Now, Kiwi Lass makes another comment in here. Time for the constitutional sheriff to step up and make an arrest. Well, I have had a constitutional sheriff on here any number of times who was running for sheriff of Kootenai County in Idaho, where I live. His name is Dan Wilson. Dan Wilson is most deaf a constitutional sheriff. And he didn't win because he didn't have the number of votes. A lot of people stayed home, and they like the guy that's the current sheriff. I'm not sure why, but he's former LASO, and I think they think that he brings a lot with him in terms of knowledge, which in fact I don't believe he does at all. But I've had constitutional sheriffs on the show before. And so Kiwi is correct. Time for a constitutional sheriff to step up and make an arrest, which is why, at least in this country, I don't know how law enforcement works in New Zealand, but in this country, there are numerous pushes afoot in the state directly across from mine, for example, removed the sheriff of King County, and by fiat decreed that the King County sheriff would no longer be elected, but would be appointed by the county board. And that's exactly what keeps many counties free, is the sheriff being elected and the chiefs of police are appointed. Because if you're a great bootlicker or a fillator, or you happen to wear the proper knee pads, then you'll get somewhere in politics. Oh my God. Okay. Mike, do you have any final questions? Because I am late for a break.
Yeah. I mean, look, I want to just return to the judges for a minute.
Okay.
If you're not gonna have the they're gonna have to be, these judges are gonna have to be roughed up a bit, and if they're not gonna be disciplined by the Supreme Court, which the Supreme Court has tried, they have tried to discipline these judges, right? And they're not listening to them. So if they're not listening to the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, then something has got to be done, and they've got to be roughed up a bit. And my theory is this: if you got to rough them up, go in there and arrest them. It may not be constitutional, but what choice do we have?
Well, it's a razor's edge. And what I mean by that is there's a very fine line between comporting with the law and obeying various rulings and deciding that you're going to let anarchy win and fall. That's the thing. And the one of the most important things that conservatives like myself, and I'm not a Republican. I vote independent, and I target my money to individuals. I haven't given to the RNC in over a decade. But the thing that we have to realize is this is a trap into which leftists and Democrats would love to have us fall and say, see, these people are nothing but the violent individuals, when in truth, you and I both know the reverse is 100% true. But people will not see and refuse to see that. And one of the things, a final statement before I go on the break, Mike, is this. I'm going to do a show, and it's going to be about what we really need to do as conservatives and Republicans. And altogether, in my opinion, way too many individuals think that the Democrats have shot themselves in the head and that they are on their way out and that there's no way that they can come back, and that we will be stomping on their little Democrat guts, that next year's midterms are going to be a bloodbath for them, that they will lose numerous seats in numerous houses. And I'm afraid that the reverse is true, because there is a clear indicator and a trend. And after I make this statement, I'm going to have to go to a break. And the trend is this. Look at Zohran Mamdani. I believe he is going to become the mayor of New York City. And then there's another guy in Minneapolis. There was a current mayor named Lang, I believe, something like that, who was the mayor during George Floyd and essentially turned all of Minneapolis, downtown and otherwise, over to rioters and thugs and BLM. And he is a massive leftist. But even then, now in Minneapolis, he is insufficiently left for the left. There's some kind of another muzzy whose name I don't even know, nor do I much care, who looks exactly like the terrorist in the movie Captain Phillips. And they want him next for the mayor in Minneapolis. And like Kiwi Lass says, that's scary. That is some scary shit. We have already lost Hamtramck. I always get caught up in the pronunciation of that name. In Michigan, Hamtramck is gone. It's gone full-blown muzzy. And Dearborn is gone. It's gone full-blown muzzy. Mike, thanks for being here. We got to take a break.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Listen in to the Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a show equipped for bombast. Tune in Mondays and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Pacific, featuring a refreshing dose of reality. Jersey Joe fearlessly tackles the tough topics with no nonsense. Just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com, where you can hear the Reaver of Common Sense in action. He may not always be polite. He may not always be refined. But one thing's for sure. He always tells it like it is.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing. They're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with 7 Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
Are you looking for bold and honest conversation about the issues shaping America? Well, let me welcome you to Unleash 101 with Jeremy Hansen, where we take you beyond the headlines. We dive into politics and culture, struggles of everyday life. It's raw, real, and unfiltered. If you're ready for truth with a punch, pull up a chair and join us. That's right, Unleash 101, where real talk feels like home. Find us at unleash101.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. We look forward to seeing you. Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm back. It's the final half hour, although at this point it's probably the final 17 minutes of the show because I was late with a break. Damn me, it's my own show. Plus, occasionally, every once in a while, I have to go to the bathroom. I have to go eat a cookie, that kind of stuff. So thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being in our sumptuous, palatial, and plush and resplendent chat room. And share the show all over the place if you would kindly. And if you happen to be watching and or are in the chat room at the SHR Media YouTube channel, please subscribe or ask your friends to subscribe or ask your friends' friends to subscribe or their pet goldfish to subscribe. I gotta go to Happy Stories. Come on.
The secret of life lies hidden in the genetic code. Genes are fundamental in determining the characteristics of an individual and passing on these characteristics to succeeding generations. Occasionally, certain conditions produce a structural change in the gene, which will bring about the process of evolution. This may occur in one or more of the following ways. Firstly, by selective mating, in which a single gene type proves superior in transmitting its genes to future generations.
Brooke Shields, by the way, for those of you who are not old enough to remember her.
Secondly, by gene drift, in which certain genes may fade away while other genes persist.
This is leftist jealousy, plain and simple. No more complicated than that. And that is a happy story because I enjoy listening to the screams of their women and the lamentations thereof, like Arnold during Arnold the Barbarian, Conan the Barbarian. Let's listen. We were just talking about judges. I may have played this before, but this is too good. I'll play a portion of it. This is a judge on probation who got fired. So don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Go. Oh, now see, if I had a producer, that might not have happened. Let's go back and let's replay the tape. Let's rewind it and go.
And so I thought it was possible I could continue to serve that office. I was wrong. After 3 weeks of training and getting prepared for the next week, that Friday I left work. I walked to the metro station. I got on the train and I pulled out my phone and I saw a litigation hold that had been put on it. And attached to that was a memo that gave Mr. Martin permission to fire probationary employees from the Capital Siege section that were moved to other places in the office.
Okay, that's called reality. That's called, if you're a probationary employee and there's some kind of a budget cut, you are always, by the way, for those of you just tuned in, you are always going to be the first to cut because you're the easiest to cut. And folks,
this is BZ's final hour. Step up. Last call for alcohol.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think there's another happy story that I may have on the cusp. Here's the wonderful Keir Starmer. He is replete with testosterone. And here he is showing us how a real man like him boxes. I'm going to play this a couple of times and embiggen it so that you can see and appreciate all the delicious moves that this dude has. I mean, this is the UK's man of men. Here he goes. What a guy. What a guy. What a guy. Let's see him again. Terrible. Oh, those punches would knock anyone out. Don't you think? I'm convinced of that. Let's go over here for a second. This is the UK. Let me bring this down so that you can see it. This is what the UK does these days. Man arrested, man carrying home his gardening tools, arrested by armed police in Manchester. You know, who knows? This might be what happens might happen in Australia, might happen in New Zealand. And Kiwi Lass says, yeah, if I spar with him in a ring, she'll knock his ass out right there. Anyway, this guy is a gardener. He returned back home from his allotment of vegetables and gardening tools strapped to his belt. He was arrested by armed police after a member of the public, they saw a man wearing khaki clothing and in possession of a knife. Oh my God, in possession of a knife. If I only had a producer in possession of a knife. But this is the UK. This is what passes for normal in the UK. It is an oppressive, suppressive country who is capitulating and is dying. It is moribund. Speaking of moribund, this is another in a continuing series of reasons why we don't need illegal invaders. Illegals are seeing their jobs replaced by machinery. That's all. That's a happy story because illegal invaders are primarily unskilled morons who come to this country and are not intent on assimilating into it much at all. Plus, we are losing positions in the United States due to AI. That massive cut, not just the judge, but those massive cuts are on the cusp of occurring because of AI. So if we're going to be losing our people also due to AI, many of whom are skilled, then there is no room for unskilled workers. People should be allowed into this country for merit and money. If you're not bringing money, if you're not bringing merit into this country, we don't want you. Canada, when I went up to Canada in the late 90s and early 2000s, 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. I think it was before 9/11. As I go into Canada, one of the other things I heard from all the Canadians up there is, hey, why does Vancouver up there happen to have so many Chinese. It's because the Chinese were allowed into the country only under a few conditions, and they brought some form of merit with them. They brought some kind of job skill with them, and they brought a minimum of $10,000 into Canada. But nobody mentions that. Nobody talks about that because it's Canada, and they're always such great, wonderful people. Here's Tom Homan also talking about illegal invaders.
Well, look, fentanyl seizures down over half. Why? Because we got a secure border. When you have a secure border, every border patrol agent is on the line doing their job. They're not changing diapers, making baby formula, making hospital runs, making airport runs. Everybody's on the line vigilant. And the cartels are hurting. Look, under Biden, the cartels made more money than they ever made. Smuggling aliens, sex trafficking women and children, smuggling dope across the border. Now we have a secure border, cartels are going bankrupt. And President Trump, through all his efforts and his leadership, we're going to wipe the cartels off the face of the earth, which makes not only this country safer, but Mexico safer.
That is a happy story. There is a caveat with that, however, that I have been noticing. Now, I happen to be in North Idaho. And North Idaho, if you remember your geography, North Idaho has a sort of a little panhandle up on the top. It's real thin on the top, and it's kind of wide and fat down on the bottom. I am 98 miles from the Canadian border. And at first I thought, wow, this is kind of disturbing. But the second, when I reconsidered, I thought, okay, we're seeing a lot of Border Patrol people up here. And the reason for that, and they're doing their jobs, and we're seeing their vehicles, and we're seeing them standing next to the road talking to individuals, is because once the southern border was predominantly closed, then people would try to enter through Canada. Canada doesn't have any real compunction or motivation to close their borders, so people are coming and seeping and seeking to come into the United States through the Canadian border. And as a result, in the past 2 months, 3 months, we've been seeing a lot more Border Patrol people up here. We had a motel that we believe was taken over in a little teeny town called Post Falls by people that were doing work as illegal invaders. That shit got stemmed immediately. And so at first I was concerned, but the bottom line is that we're seeing more activity than we have ever seen. And the good part, the happy story part is they're doing their damn jobs. Here's another happy story. U.S. and South Korea strike a trade deal with tariffs on Seoul set at 15%. Now, the funny thing is, let me go back up here and do some overlays similar to this. Is congressional Democrat approval is at 19% and 72% disapproval. I'm going somewhere. 60% of the voters support Trump's efforts to close the border from tariffs. And I have another overlay that I'm going to be putting up here in just a minute. From tariffs, June, $27 billion plus in June. That is a 301% increase over the year. Also, winning tariff deals reached with the UK, with Vietnam, with Japan, with the EU, a massive trade deal with the EU, who said, we will make an investment in U.S. energy, i.e., we will purchase energy from you instead of Gazprom in Russia. $750 billion investment in that. A $600 billion investment in the United States itself for manufacturing. The EU has said that they will purchase more U.S. military weapons and equipment, and a 15% tariff across the board, including autos, because historically, they don't give a crap, a rat's ass, about our cars. And Americans are preferring Republicans on the economy, on inflation, on immigration, on illegal immigration, on tariffs, policy in the Ukraine-Russia war. And also this, This is why it was very important for Jerome Powell to lower the prime, to lower the lending rate. Because as you can see with this chart, people want to purchase homes. The desire is there. The will is there. The ability is not. So the percentiles on the right indicate people who fell out of their contract primarily in a fiscal fashion because they couldn't hack it. And from June in 21, 10.3%. Now June in 2025, 14.9%. So the will is there. The indicator is there. The desire is there. But Jerome Powell, and I believe it's completely 100% political, continues to say, no, we're not going to lower crap. So as of July 31st, here are the tariff rates. Well, the tariffs are going to tear apart the United States of America. And leftists all throughout the boneyard land were saying today and yesterday, yeah, but the GDP is no real indicator of happiness and satisfaction. To which I replied in a fashion similar to this to all the people that I encountered who were leftists on social media: suck a dick. Just eat a big bowl of dicks, because it's not going well for the Democrats per the executive order. And when you see the show, I'll post the show and you can see what the amounts are throughout all of these countries if you comply with Trump. And these are great and positive things. So there are a ton of happy stories. What have I got? Ah, damn it. I have 3 more minutes. Well, I can still do 3 more happy stories. This is a happy story that no one has made mention of. Hey, look, remember the Federal Reserve Building and the beautiful little tete-a-tete that President Trump had with Jerome Powell, both wearing hard hats, under the renovation of the Federal Reserve Building for only $3.5 billion. There's one point that I'd care to make about the Federal Reserve. Well, they insist it's private. You have no influence over the Federal Reserve. Now, you can replace at the end of Jerome Powell's term. That's about the only influence that you can make President Trump. Otherwise, you better have a damn good reason for replacing these people, because we are independent. We are independent and we are private. Except, who's funding the fucking renovation at the Federal Reserve Building with all their granite and marble? It's not a private concern. They're not fundraising behind that. It's your money, our hard-earned American taxpayer dollars. So then Trump decides a beautiful ballroom and a new Lincoln bathroom. Trump relishes remaking the White House. The president discussed his renovation plans for the most famous house in America. I'll be doing a lot of improvements. But do you know what the biggest difference is between this and Jerome Powell and also the Federal Reserve Building? Is those are taxpayer dollars that are being used for that. This, President Trump has said, will be accomplished by donations. And yet, a private concern is pissing. By the way, it's going to be about $200 or $300 million as opposed to $3.5 billion with a B for a private company, a private concern that wants your taxpayer dollars. And this from Trump, that'll be funded. You'll be asked for donations and it will be funded by donations. Imagine that. But, in the leftist's mind, there's no difference at all, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network in North Idaho. right here on Rumble and X and Twitch and the SHR Media YouTube channel and the munificently grandiose KLRN and tons of other bulbous podcast locations and localias. And I want to remind everybody that as per normal, promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, by Arrakis, who happen to make my mixer, and also by Pratt and Whitney Engines, producing Thrust. You can trust. Thanks to Sean Lewis for being here. Tiaras, you see, like this hat, Tiaras by My Little Pony. And of course, thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting in less than a half hour or so. Thanks to everybody watching live, watching in podcast, listening in podcast, and my guests, and to all of you. God bless everyone. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.